I went to private school. I went to private school from 7th grade all the way through high school, and then I earned a scholarship to attend college at a private school, the same one that Amy Coney Barrett attended. Yes, we both attended Rhodes College, and then I earned another scholarship so that I could go to law school. Let me tell you something, my academic success, it started in public school.
The hearing room felt like it was holding its breath the moment Ivanka Trump adjusted her microphone. Cameras blinked awake, reporters straightened, and the audience quieted with the kind of stillness that always comes right before a storm. Ivanka began her statement with the smooth, polished tone she'd perfected over years, the voice that sold perfection, order, progress. According to her, the country was thriving, seniors were thriving, the system was thriving, and everything under her father's leadership was on the golden path to greatness.
Americans today need an economy that permits people to rise again. A Trump presidency will turn the economy around and restore the great American tradition of giving each new generation hope for brighter opportunities than those of the generation that came before. In Donald Trump, you have a candidate who knows the difference between wanting something done and making it happen.
Barron nodded along beside her, eager to follow her lead. He spoke like a young man repeating a script he'd been told so many times he'd stopped questioning whether it was true. He claimed seniors around the nation loved what the administration had done for them. He said they were grateful. He said they were happy. He said things were better than ever. The confidence in his voice rang loud, but something in the room felt off, like the words were floating above reality instead of touching it.
I know that multiple colleagues on this side of the aisle have faced death threats. In fact, somebody tried to kill one of my colleagues. And frankly, I don't know if this FBI or under your leadership, if those people would have been caught. I don't have any confidence in you.
Jasmine Crockett sat across from them, watching quietly, absorbing every word with the sharp attention of someone who had heard far too many polished lies in rooms just like this. She didn't interrupt, didn't roll her eyes, didn't break their rhythm. She waited until both siblings finished painting their flawless portrait of America. Then she leaned forward, and the room shifted. "I hear you," she said calmly, her gaze locked on both of them. "But the seniors you're talking about, they're not telling me the same story." Ivanka stiffened. Barron blinked. Jasmine continued, her voice steady and surgical. She described skyrocketing medical bills, shrinking Social Security checks, and seniors choosing between medication and dinner. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The truth did the talking for her.
My father isn't deterred by defeatist thinkers. The word impossible, well, it only motivates him. Donald Trump rejects the cynical notion that this country's greatest achievements are behind us. He believes that nothing is beyond our reach and that the best is yet to come.
Then she motioned to the back doors. They opened, and seniors from across the country, the people Barron had mocked as content and grateful, began to walk in. Real faces, real stories, real pain. The first woman spoke with a trembling voice, telling them how she'd worked her entire life only to spend her retirement drowning in medical costs. Another man, hunched with age, said he'd survived surgeries only to realize he couldn't afford the medication that kept him alive. A widow explained how she'd sold her house because the system designed to protect her had forgotten she existed. Every word hit the room like a stone thrown through the glass facade Ivanka and Barron had tried to build. Barron's smile faltered. Ivanka's jaw tightened. Their confidence slipped like a mask melting under heat. When the last senior finished, Jasmine stepped back into the center of the moment. She wasn't angry. She was resolute. "These," she said, gesturing to the seniors, "are the people you said were happy."
Some think that this is all over and some think that nothing else is going on. But if there was ever a RICO case, it would have been the Epstein case. So how we went from something that should have been RICO because of how sophisticated of a system this was, and this wasn't just one little sick old man that was doing stuff, but there were so many layers, whether we're talking about the banks that were involved, whether we're talking about those that worked for him.
"These are the ones you claim your policies have lifted up." The silence was crushing. Barron, desperate to regain control, leaned forward with a smirk he didn't fully believe. He tried sarcasm. He tried condescension. He dismissed the seniors as outsiders and suggested Jasmine had paid them to be there. He even bragged that his father was already handling them. The room recoiled. Jasmine didn't. She held his gaze with the kind of calm that can slice through arrogance like a blade. Then she asked the question that detonated the entire hearing. Barron, she said softly, if you understand your father's plans so well, why don't you understand your own family? Ivanka's head snapped toward her. Barron froze. Jasmine leaned forward.
This guy was upset because he wasn't invited to go hang out with all the other dictators. So I will say that, yes, we have a problem with this president, but this president cannot do this stuff by himself. So thank you for playing the clip of the Speaker of the House, who is the leader of those that are going to just bend the knee to him. They are not honoring their oath. And that is the only thing that I am asking every single elected leader to do.
Voice low and exact. Why haven't you taken that DNA test yet? The room gasped. Barron's face drained. He looked at Ivanka, searching, pleading, but she wouldn't meet his eyes. Jasmine continued, you've spent this whole time defending your father. Maybe you should ask your sister why she's so afraid of a simple test. Barron's breath caught. Something cracked inside him. And then, barely above a whisper, he asked the question that sent shockwaves through the room. Wait, are you my mom? Ivanka jerked in her seat as if he'd slapped her. She's lying, Ivanka snapped instantly, voice sharp enough to break skin. You don't ask questions like that. You don't listen to people like her. This African woman trying to tear our family apart? The room turned ice cold. Even Barron flinched at her words. Jasmine inhaled slowly, grounding herself before she spoke again. You heard that, didn't you? She said quietly to Barron. That reaction? That fear? That anger? Those are not the responses of someone telling the truth. Barron swallowed hard, eyes darting between his sister and the woman challenging everything he thought he knew. Jasmine pressed on. You talk about outsiders, but your own truth is foreign to you. You defend your father while your sister refuses to answer the simplest question about where you come from. Ivanka's composure cracked down the middle. Enough, she hissed. We don't owe anyone anything. Everyone knows who his mother is. Jasmine tilted her head. Do they? The silence after those two words was so thick, it seemed to press on everyone's chest. Barron looked like a boy standing on a cliff edge, suddenly aware of how far the fall truly was. Ivanka looked like she wanted to drag him away from it, before he realized why he'd been brought to the edge in the first place. And Jasmine looked like the first person who dared turn him around and point out the view. You've been living in a bubble, Barron, Jasmine said, her voice softer now. A bubble built from your father's words and your sister's silence. But the truth, it's yours, and it's waiting. Barron's eyes shimmered with something raw, fear maybe, or the first glimpse of clarity. Jasmine continued, you have a choice. Keep living in the story they wrote for you, or finally ask the questions they never wanted you to ask. Ivanka stood abruptly, as if ending the hearing by sheer force of will, but the room no longer listened to her. The seniors stared at her with disbelief. The audience watched Barron like he was unraveling in real time. And Barron, for the first time in his life, looked like he didn't know who he was supposed to trust. Jasmine didn't gloat. She didn't smile. She simply gathered her papers and stood tall, knowing the truth had landed exactly where it needed to, directly in the fault line running through the Trump family. And when she walked out of that hearing room, she left behind a silence more powerful than any argument she could have delivered. A silence filled with cracks, a silence filled with questions, a silence waiting to explode.